Good morning, Justin. How are you doing this Monday?
Wonderful. I think we have breaking news today, don't we?
Yes. Okay. There was a big story that came out just this morning from our friends over at General Motors. You already got a post up on the joinyaa.com website. What is going on in the land of Corvettes, Justin?
An electric Corvette has been confirmed after years of rumors. It looks like General Motors is going to go all in. They're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're actually going to do it. We've previously quipped that either GM is going to be going out of business or they're going to be all EVs by 2035 because they've said no more combustion past 2035. And now the Corvette is getting the EV treatment.
Do we have any details yet, or is it just the announcement, hey, we're actually going to do this? Or do they provide any details in the announcement this morning?
So we know that an electrified version is coming as soon as 2023. That's what they said, as soon as 2023. Now that most likely means a hybrid and or plug-in hybrid powertrain for the Corvette. And he said, this was General Motors president Mark Roos, that
Mhm.
soon after we'll get a fully electric Corvette. And when asked about specs and performance, he hinted at the upcoming Z06. So what we know is that the Corvette EV should at least be as capable as the Z06 that's coming out in 2023, and that's exciting.
Yeah, no, it's really big news. I imagine that there's a lot of Corvette enthusiasts that are not super interested in an all-electric version until they start to see some of the performance specs. I mean, an all-wheel drive electric Corvette would be pretty incredible if that actually comes to fruition.
Yeah, and it looks like it's the new Ultium powertrain that is enabling this massive performance that they've been teasing in the video released just this morning on Chevrolet's official YouTube channel. The Ultium battery platform, it is not only more energy dense, but it is also cheaper to make. And every automaker right now kind of has to ration their batteries. So GM must be pretty confident in their ability to scale up Ultium battery production in partnership with LG Chem. If they're not only going to be making a Silverado EV, they're also going to be making the Equinox EV, now a Corvette EV. So who knows what they've got planned? They must have a secret stash of batteries somewhere.
Yeah, evidently, either that or they're going to stick them in their most expensive vehicles that they produce so that they can make as much money as possible. I can't imagine you're going to be taking a ton of electric Corvettes anytime soon versus like some of the more mass market EVs that GM might be trying to get out into the market. Anyway, crazy news that was broken this morning. Like we'd anticipated that it would come, but it was literally an hour ago. Thanks for jumping right on that. And if you're interested in learning more, just Google search about it. I mean, there's articles now everywhere about the Corvette. Not too many details yet, but over the next few days, I'm sure we'll get them.
Yeah, and it's not going to be the first hybrid sports car that we've seen. The BMW i8, it looks kind of like a little spaceship around about 2014. The BMW i8 was the first truly hybrid sports car that was very popular. And now McLaren, they have the new Artura out, which is hybrid. And honestly, they're a lot of fun to drive. Everyone seems to love them, especially once you get behind the wheel. It's a lot more fun than you would think. Combining that electric motor, electric battery power with the typical combustion motor is just honestly opening up new doors to new possibilities for the sports cars.
If I'm not mistaken, the Acura NSX was one that also had that hybrid powertrain. Not huge batteries, but also, I mean, the fact that you're combining, battery with combustion, that's a pretty impressive vehicle as well. So there are a few examples out there, but Corvette enthusiasts, if you think about the Corvette history, it had stayed pretty similar all the way until the most recent C8 Corvette, which is obviously a totally different body style. Now we have a C8 Corvette plus an electric Corvette in the future. The change is among us, that's for sure. And I think, Justin, we're going to spend a decent amount of time here today talking about electric trucks that are on the market. Or actually, we'll probably spend a lot of time on Wednesday talking about that. But let's tee it up at least a little bit here today. That's where change is happening as well. Not only is it among sports cars and sedans and things like that, but also among trucks, things that are supposed to tow stuff. We've seen a hell of a lot of investment there too.
Yeah, so we've seen 1.5 million pre-orders for electric trucks, and I think we will dive into all the nitty-gritty details on Wednesday. But it's been amazing to see automakers pivot from treating electric vehicles as a novelty for EV nerds like me to trying to make them appeal more to the mainstream. Because although an electric Corvette may not necessarily appeal to the mainstream, it's still entering into a different realm of electric vehicles, especially for a legacy automaker like General Motors. Now, I think today we're definitely going to be spending our time talking about GM because they've got a lot coming in the pipeline. We also have the Equinox EV. Yeah, the Silverado EV looking nice behind you, Zach. Now, while the Silverado EV that you got behind you, that spec is going to cost likely over $70,000. Those who are in the market for an affordable electric crossover in 2023 can look forward to the Equinox, which General Motors has gone out on a limb and said it's going to start at around $30,000 before incentives. I don't know if they can stay true to their word there because, Zach, you and I know that battery costs, raw material costs, not to mention what's going on in Ukraine and the global supply chains and, of course, chips. But can they really stick to $30,000 if we're talking a year into the future? What do you think?
No, we actually get General Motors, their first quarter earnings come out tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. I don't see how those are going to look pretty, and I think that's going to put a lot of pressure on them to be able to drive like more profitability. And I think it's unknown if you can actually create I'll call cost-effective EV. Like no one's proven that. Even Tesla at this point hasn't proven that because look at how expensive their Model 3 is. There is no such thing as a $30,000 EV, except for maybe the Kia Niro. Like that's maybe your one.
Different executives within GM have said that they are taking some inspiration from Tesla. They previously in prior leadership never said the word Tesla, but now we've seen multiple executives say that, well, if they take this play out of Tesla's playbook, maybe they'll see some success here, see some success there. And what we're seeing now is that GM is going to be targeting more affordable EVs because that's where Tesla has failed. They no longer have a sub $47,000 vehicle on the market. That's pretty amazing.
Can we talk a little bit about the platform that GM's investing in? Like what's noteworthy or exciting about the Ultium platform? And also how many consultants do you think they hired to come up with Ultium?
I know, right? The Ultium battery platform, it's made out of a unique battery chemistry. It's called nickel, cobalt, manganese, aluminum battery chemistry. I mean, that's a lot of elements, a lot of rare earth minerals you got to dig up somewhere, right? But what's so special about this platform from an environmental and human rights perspective is it uses 70% less cobalt. And cobalt is largely mined in Central Africa where there are no working standards and there's a lot of problems going on there. So GM says that not only will this new Ultium battery platform be better for human rights and the environment, it's actually going to have more energy density, be capable of faster charging, and much better durability a decade into the future. So on top of that, they claim to be able to reduce cost to less than $100 per kilowatt hour. And that's always been the magic number for making electric vehicles more affordable, is you've got to get battery costs below $100 per kilowatt hour. And there's only one automaker that we know is capable of bringing that cost down right now. And I bet you can guess who it is.
Probably Tesla.
It's Tesla. Now, we don't know if that's still true since nickel prices skyrocketed by what, 1,000% a month ago, and all of these raw material prices skyrocketing. We don't know if they're still $100 per kilowatt hour, but that level had been reached. But ever since Tesla has risen their prices 25%, we can assume that other EV makers are going to be under the similar cost pressures.
Does the GM is the Ultium platform, is that what's powering the Hummer EV?
Yes. So the first two models to receive the Ultium platform are the Hummer EV and the Cadillac Lyriq. I have never seen either of those vehicles on the road with my own eyes. What about you, Zach?
No, like legitimately no.
Yeah. So when GM President Mark Roos was on CNBC this morning, the interviewer, I apologize to Mr. Interviewer, but I forgot your name. He asked him, well, where are these cars at? He literally said that. Well, we don't see any of these on the road. Where are they? And he had to politely redirect because, as you and I know, there's a gigantic supply shortage coming from all different angles, and they're just not able to make the EVs right now. They're talking a lot of talk, but they're not necessarily walking the walk.
Does the Ultium platform, does it interact at all with the work that they're going to be doing jointly with Honda, or are they kind of separate initiatives?
It is the reason why Honda has selected General Motors of all automakers to piggyback off of to get caught up in the EV race. So what we've seen is that Honda has selected GM's Ultium platform for the upcoming Prologue electric SUV. So Honda is one of the originators of the hybrid powertrain along with Toyota, but they are getting into the electric game really, really late. So with the Prologue, we'll be looking forward to how GM will be hopefully financially becoming kind of recipient of the benefits of their research and development investment, right? I'm sure this platform's costed billions of dollars to develop, and Honda's going to help
Oh,
pay for that.
for sure, for sure. So I'm trying to keep track in my head. So obviously Tesla has their own platform. GM has their own platform. Toyota now has their own platform. Ford
They've
has their own platform. They developed theirs with Subaru.
Yes, exactly.
There's a lot of platforms.
Now here's where it gets interesting, very interesting. GM's Ultium battery platform, it's not like they had a bunch of General Motors engineers working in Michigan doing this by themselves. They partnered with LG Chem to make the Ultium battery platform. So this was a big partnership. And General Motors already has a fraught relationship with LG Chem because guess who's responsible for the Chevy Bolt fires and $2 billion recall? Yeah, it's kind of awkward, right?
Mm,
Kind of awkward. But
GM,
LG Chem,
LG Chem.
yeah, the same company that they're for the Ultium battery platform. So I guess hashtag new beginnings is what they said over there, and they're continuing their partnership and trying it again. But it's important to note that LG Chem is a massive battery producer. They also provide batteries to Tesla. Tesla sources their batteries from a whole bunch of places, in addition to beginning to produce them on their own. Lucid gets their batteries from LG Chem. So it's not a lost cause just because they're working with LG Chem, but I'm sure that $2 billion mistake was a pretty big screw up that has definitely affected their working relationship, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely, absolutely. Bahamian Lily here in the chat says, know of the possibility of an electric Tahoe. I remember the hybrid being made, then discontinued a few years ago. And Igor's here in the chat talking about how he's heard some rumblings about an EV Tahoe. My GM rep told me that Tahoe and Suburban either going to be discounted or going electric. What's your take on that, Justin?
It's a rumor right now, but as we've noted, GM says they're going to go combustion free in just what's that, 13 years. So either they're going out of business or they're going to have to be electric. I would estimate that an electric Tahoe would come right around 2025.
Yeah, and I can't imagine they're actually going to hit that deadline that they've self-imposed, but whatever. We'll still be around covering the news when that inevitably happens. Learning fast here in the chat saying, don't the GM batteries have a high discharge rate? What is discharge rate, Justin? And do they?
So discharge rate would be power delivery. It would be the kilowatts of power delivered by the battery. And I'm not sure what the specifics are on that, but I do know that ultimate battery form is capable of charging at up to certain kilowatts at a fast.
I think we're losing Justin, folks. You still there, Justin?
I'm still here. Am I back?
Okay, I think you're there. We'll give it another try for a couple more minutes here, but I think you're unfortunately fading in and out of us today. It must be the electricity lines in West Virginia trying to make it
Yeah, maybe
topical.
my car is destroying the grid.
That could be part of it. We'll see if you're able to stay here with us, and obviously we'll keep going if you are. I saw in automotive news this morning talking about automakers who are putting really aggressive timelines against going electric. Honda, one of the headlines was Honda plans to build 800,000 EVs in North America by 2030, and obviously that's tied back to all the work and initiatives going on at GM because of the fact that they're partnering so closely. So everyone's setting really challenging timelines to be able to be met. But I guess they look at Tesla and they say, okay, if they're doing it, we should be able to do it as well.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to see how many billions of dollars. We're now over $500 billion going into this investment. So it's amazing who's going to win, who's going to falter out. What will the auto industry look like in 10 years? It could look very, very different.
Yeah, it probably will. All these different platforms will be, pun intended, powering it.
One thing that I'm especially going to be interested in is how is the battle between General Motors and Ford going to play out? Because they're both introducing new battery platforms right now. They're also working on solid state platforms behind the scenes that are supposedly come the of this decade. GM already has the upper hand when it comes to their battery platform because Ultium, it can charge twice as fast as Ford's new F-150 electric Lightning. So just who's going to win in this battle? Will cost come into the cost will probably be a pretty big factor. Who's able to price their new EVs the lowest? Because they already know that Tesla's targeting and succeeding with the luxury segment. GM, Ford, Stellantis, and others, they're going to be competing for the average consumer's money.
Yeah, and it's a tall ask of them to be able to do that, especially when the costs for all these batteries become more and more expensive. It is interesting to look at kind of the landscape today versus where they want to go. So on the Ford side, for example, you actually have a few electric vehicles in production and that you see on the road. You look at GM, and yeah, like we were talking about before, I've never seen a Hummer EV on the road, nor do I even really want to. I haven't seen a Cadillac Lyric anywhere. And so what's interesting is, Ford's got the Mach-E out on the road. And even here in Bethesda, Maryland, the local government has some of them in their fleet. Like, they've done a good job getting some vehicles out and into production. You got to imagine they'll kind of win from a bit of a first starter, or like getting out in front. But if GM can come in cheaper, then maybe people start to migrate there. And I think the truck front becomes super interesting. Whoever's going to win on trucks is going to own an incredible piece of the market. It's surely not going to be Rivian, is my guess, only because they can't really produce anything. But then again, no one else can, so who knows?
Yeah, if you can buy a truck for $60,000 that can power your home for up to 5 days, charge from empty to full in 30 minutes, and get 300 miles of range, in addition to towing more than the combustion equivalent, I think electric trucks are going to be quite popular, even with consumers who right now might not see themselves as EV drivers.
Definitely. Got a question here from Happy Hippo. Not sure if you have any update on this, Justin. Do you think the government will pass the Build Back Better Act?
As far as I've seen, the senators who are opposed to it are probably not going to be willing to budge. So that particular bill is likely dead. However, a standalone bills revising the EV tax credit are likely, especially as we get closer to the next midterms, because without going into politics, we know that politicians like to find a way to be popular with the people right before the election, right? So they're going to probably be looking at some bills that might put some money back into taxpayers' pockets through EV purchases. Now, I think this is going to be very, very interesting because what's going to happen to Tesla's sales tax credit back? Right now, they're still 65% market share of EVs in the US. That's huge. Are they going to actually gain market share because everyone wants a Tesla just like everyone wants an iPhone? Is that going to ruin GM and Ford's push to EVs? Is giving back the tax credit to Tesla? Because right now, that's one of the selling points. That's one of the reasons I bought the Hyundai Ioniq 5 myself was, well, I can get the tax credit. But what if the Model Y had received the tax credit in 2022? Maybe I would have considered that heavily.
Yeah, it's a
It'll
really
be
good point. When we have refresh tax credits, which seem inevitable because the only way to make EVs more affordable is for the government to subsidize them. So that seems like it's probably around the corner. So when that does happen, you're right. What type of pressure will that put on Tesla? All right, I hate to do this, Justin, but I'm making an executive call just because we got the choppy internet today. Let's call the show today. We will be back on Wednesday. We will resolve whatever our internet issues are by then, and we will give you some new news, I am sure, that you can use. The Chevy Corvette EV is pretty damn interesting, but I think we're going to do a deeper dive on the truck side of things on Wednesday. I'm bummed that we weren't able to spend more time together today, Justin, but you know what? For the sake of our ears and everyone that's with us, we'll give them some time back in their day. How's that sound?
Yes. Sorry, everyone, but it was wonderful to be with you today.
All right, Justin, I'll end this and then let's get to troubleshooting. Talk to you soon.